Well, I've been asked to do a casting video, and today I'm going to take an attempt at one. I'm going to just cover some real quick basics. I really want to keep the YouTube videos short and sweet, the best that I can. But what I'm casting today is shaving brush blanks, the handles for the razors, and the stands for the brushes and the razors. I've got a bunch of molds pre-made and a couple more that I have to fill up here. These are the molds that I have ready, pretty much set up. They're all burl cap edges. I got the colors written on everything that I want to use. Because they're in sets, everything's laid out so that I don't get them mixed up, because I have certain quantities of each. Prior to casting, you have to do preparation of the wood. Wood preparation involves, for these are just the handle pieces. They're just small pieces of burl that I have here, and these small pieces of burl have been pre-cooked in a toaster oven. I cooked them about between 180 and 200 degrees. You can smell them. I mean, the wood's been sitting around for quite a while. I know it's dry. You can check it with a moisture meter. I like to do everything before it goes in the oven, as long as it's down to 6 or 8%, and then after that it goes in the toaster oven, and I will sit it in there for a couple of hours to cook, to dry it out even more. I don't want any problems with the resin when I cast. The resin that I'm casting is Alumilite Water Clear. This is the A side resin. This is a gallon. It actually comes, there's 2 gallons in the kit. There's an A and a B. It's also available in 32 ounce, 16 ounce, and it's available in a, what they call a 5-gallon kit, which is actually 10 gallons. And I actually decant into the 1-gallon jugs from a 10-gallon source behind me here. I do quite a bit of casting, so it pays to buy it in bulk. Part of the casting process, like I said, was preparation of the wood. The cooking I already talked about. The cleaning, that's the next step. And I always clean after I cook. You want to remove the bark, any soft spots, whatever. Clean them up, get them nice and clean, no dust on them. I'll give them a little shot of air just to get the dust off after I wire brush it or go at it with a chisel. I have a small chisel that I use. If I'm not using a chisel, then I can use dental picks. Work great. They get in those tight places just to get all the bark out. If you want, you can go to small brushes like these, or you can step up and use big brushes, and it's basically just for cleaning, right? It's just loose material. That's all you want to do. Get it off, right? It just makes you want to have the best adhesion to the wood with the resin that you can get. And one other option that you have for cleaning, other than the wire brushes, and I use this quite often actually, because I have a small wire wheel set up. You need a dust collector for this. I mean, that's the best choice, is to have the dust collector. You don't want to be breathing in all the crap that comes off, because this can actually stir up quite a bit of dust. In preparation for casting, I also do larger items. Just to give you an idea, I cast burl pieces. That's a burl. It's in the process. It's in the mold, start of the mold. I use the faceplate. I build the mold to suit the burl, and then I'll cast it as a whole object. And the result of that will end up being something similar to this. This is a casting. This is the base of the mold, so I save it. I also, because this is going to be a lidded vessel, this is going to be the top of the lidded vessel eventually. I've already turned the top flush, put a faceplate, sacrificial block onto a faceplate, a waste block, and it's basically ready to part the 2 1/2 and then carry on with a full turning. And that's eventually what's going to happen with this piece. So the cleaning, I have a couple pieces to do here. Pretty simple. Get them cleaned up. Get that little bit of barky crap off of it. Because some of the woods, that bark just does not want to come off. And you have to resort to some mechanical means or physical means of removing it. There you can see it's cleaned up, little spots. It's equivalent to taking the rust off of a piece of metal. This is actually maple burl. Sometimes you get lucky and the bark just chips off of it. Other times, you know, spend a minute or two and just clean it all up. Now, these are small pieces because these are just the handles. Cleans up nice and quick. There they are. They're done. 5 little pieces. Now, as you can see, the cleaning process produces not a lot, but a little bit of dust. My dustpan is black, so it disappears quite frequently. So I've got the molds ready. I've actually got 9 slots. I only need 7 to finish off the set. I've marked the last one as a spare. The other one is the color. The molds, I make them out of 1/8" hardboard. Home Depot sells it, at least in Canada. It's 1/8" thick, nice to work with, cuts up quick, glues up quick. Toothpicks in the bottom, keeps the wood off the bottom. Right? Same with the bigger pieces. Right? I don't necessarily fill the molds right full with the wood. I come up with a pretty generic size of wood and a generic size of mold. That way when I cut them, they're usually very close to the same every time. These are a few pieces. These are leftovers actually for the stands, for the handles, because I do so many of them. Some more pieces, odds and ends, leftovers. And you just glue the pieces into the molds. These ones might have to be cut still. Those pieces are set in. I center them in the mold. Real simple. Just a little bit of CA. You want to secure the pieces in the mold. If you don't secure them in the mold, much like putting a boat in the water, they're going to float. Give them a little shot of accelerator. Make sure these ones are going to fit. Nope. Nope. Yep. I'll have to trim those to size. And I have two other ones that I've set down somewhere. Forgot to take them out of the oven. Set them down nothing. Let's be cleaned. That one's still got a bit of bark on it. This is a very soft bristle brush as well. You don't want to have an aggressive wire wheel, believe me. Cut those to size. So I put two in with the spares accidentally. No big deal. Those are ready, those are ready. That's just thick CA glue. I only use Easy Bond, nothing else. I find Easy Bond is the only glue, the only CA glue that does not get chloresis. And if you're wondering what chloresis is, it's that white residue that forms on the surface. If you're a pen turner, you'll know what I'm talking about. Chloresis is just nasty. too tight in the mold. I don't like it. Try and make it too tight or too exact, and it'll get hung up on the corners a bit. A little dab will do ya. Let it sit and dry. Secure, secure. Everything's secure. We'll go back to the colors. I'm gonna do red and gold today, so I don't have to worry about those. Worry about those. Red and gold here, red and gold, red and gold, and another one with red and gold. I'm not casting all of them. I'm just picking out which ones are the likely candidates. I'm just looking at volume, because when I cast, I'll cast using these plastic cups. They're solo cups. They're 18 ounce. They're not the beer drinking ones. They're the red ones. But I will admit that these ones do work just as fine as the red ones. So those are secure. They're ready to cast. The only thing I would do is I like to preheat my mold and my casting specimens. So they would go in the toaster oven, and they'll get preheated up. And the reason why I preheat, what happens when you're casting these unusual shapes is you get thick and thin sections where the resin is. This is a thermosetting resin, which means it requires heat to cure. So as an example, when I cast this item here, because the area is big in here, it will generate a lot of heat. However, if this piece were tapered, this blank here is tapered, it will create a lot of heat on this side, but not very much heat over here where it's the mold is full of the burl specimen or the wood specimen. So what happens is, and this is my own experience, and this is hundreds of casts that I've done, these thin sections take longer to cure than the thick sections of resin. Now, even though the manufacturer tells you that it takes X number of minutes to demold, whatever, this stuff here I believe is 90 minutes. 90 minutes is fine if you're doing pen blank solid pieces. I have another, this is a mauve pen mold blank, right? A little dusty, please don't mind that. And what I have are, I have various pieces that I've saved over time of castings, and these pieces here come out of these molds, right? So 90 minutes, yeah, I can pop them out, but in all reality, they're still not fully cured, not for turning. That's what my experience has taught me with this resin. So I have found it best to preheat to warm, and I also find that after about 48 hours, that's when it's nice to turn. I mean, you can turn it before that, but when you're mixing it with another product like wood, it's not, especially thin and thick sections, it's not fully cured. So that's one thing to be leery of. And you learn this over time. So on to casting. We have a scale. With our scale, I do everything in grams. I do not use ounces. The reason I use grams, it's more accurate. Yeah, I've tried it in ounces, and it's just, I want those A and B have to be mixed equal by weight, not by volume, by weight. So as long as they're both the same, and I mean we're talking within a gram or two, I find is close enough. If you switch the scale to ounces, it's pretty wishy-washy compared to grams. So the scale's got grams, use grams. It's just, you're going to save yourself a whole lot of headaches. Calculating resin can be tricky, especially some of this stuff. I've done enough of it that I have a pretty good idea how far I can go. The cups hold, I will do a 500 gram pour out of an 18-ounce cup. And I stretch that pour out because I'm going to be doing a lot of the red and gold. There will be 2 out of this mold that are red and gold, these 2 out of this mold that are red and gold, and this will be red and gold. I also have another one here for red and gold. These are just single brush handles. That's a separate order, but it's the same red and gold. So I will do 500 grams. I will cast my biggest cavity, and then I will go to the smaller ones. What I have learned over time is that pen blanks, and this is after hundreds of pen blanks, and these are basically 3/4 to 7/8 square by 5 inches long, on average take about 68 grams of resin. But that's just an average. So that's just my own experience. Like I said, we're going to do red and gold today. This is an example of the red and gold. This is actually a globe, a hollowed out globe, for a Christmas ornament. I've been taking it to demos and stuff. It's 2 years since I turned it, so it's getting its mileage in demos. Maybe next Christmas. All right. So we have our scale, we have our molds, we have our cup. When I cast, I wear the nitrile gloves. They're disposable. Along with that, because we're using red and gold, the gold is the pigment, and this particular cast, where is it? Here it is. This is the Alumilite gold. So I'll be using that gold, and the dye will be the Alumilite, and it will be the red dye. The Alumilite red dye here. One thing with these bottles, I drill a hole in the top of the bottles because you cannot get the dye out without doing so. So I have my dye ready, I have my pigment ready. I need to get my pigment from there, from the here to the cup, and I have this little scoop. I'm sure the older folks in the crowd will recognize it from their science classes. I don't know the exact name of that thing, but what else have we got? So the scoop. Oh, we need to mix. I've seen a lot of mixing done, and I'm a very aggressive mixer. So I put a lot of air into my casting. Not on purpose, it's a time thing, and because I can compress those air bubbles with pressure, I really don't mind getting the air. I have a paddle. This is a homemade paddle. It's on an aluminum shaft with just a piece of thin steel sheet metal, and I have it in my drill. That's my mixer. You can use little toothpicks, or not toothpicks, but popsicle sticks or whatever you want, or a spatula. You pick your choice, right? That's what I use. Works the best for me. I get good results. We got pigment, dye, scoop, mixer, gloves, scale, cup, molds. I'm going to have to preheat those. I'll go throw those in the oven right now. I'm sorry I don't have a picture of my toaster oven, but it's a Black & Decker. I bought it at Canadian Tire. It was on sale for about 60 bucks. Has a 2-year warranty. I use it just like an oven. My last one failed. I took it back. They replaced it. Am I cooking with it? Yep. Cooking wood. One other thing about pigments, since I'm on the topic. You can buy bulk. As you saw, this is right from Alumilite. They charge, I think they're $10 for these. Yeah, $9. There it is. $9. It's expensive. You can buy bottles of Pearlex. These are 3/4 ounce. No, sorry. 5 ounce, which is 14 grams. No, 0.5 ounces, half an ounce, 14 grams. These are great. They work really well. They're mica pigments. That's what you want. You want mica powders. What else is there? This here is a product called Slice of the Moon, and it is also, it's a metallic powder for resins, paints, plastics, ceramics, glass, etc. I really like this powders. These are nice powders. Very nice to work with. Come in a whole array of different colors. The dyes, sorry, look at the pigments. They also have a fluorescent UV powder. If you're at your art stores, they also sell other little powders. These are expensive. It's like shopping at Michael's. Ugh. Yeah, I know, the stuff comes on sale at Michael's. It's not the point, it's just expensive. You can also buy bigger sizes. You can also buy metal dust. Pearlex. Here you go, this is a silver. It's still unopened, but you can see it's in my casting box. It's getting a little dirty, but the pigment's still good. What else is there? Oh, I also have some glow in the dark. This works well. Lots of people are using this stuff now. Really nice stuff. We get into bulk. Here's a ½ pound. This is a ½ pound of mica pigment. Here's a pound of mica pigment. Some might wonder if you're in the drug business. And you can get overboard. This is 5 pounds of Pearl-Ex. Yes, 5 pounds. Alright. This is the 686 turquoise. I just love this stuff. There's the little bottle. And they sell an even smaller bottle than that. But I love this 686 turquoise. Lots of things you can put in with it. Dyes, they come in this size. You can also get them up into the bigger size here, which is the 6 ounce. This is purple or violet. I was so glad when they added this to the inventory of colors. Alumilite offers a lot of colors. I got some other stuff. Tangerine. This has just been decanted from this into a plastic container, all ready to use. Mica pigments. I've got lots of them. Pounds of them. Lots of colors. People who make makeup, in the makeup industry, that's where a lot of those powders come from. They're safe, they're friendly, nice stuff. Easy to work with. A little dusty, but they work well. Alright, those pieces are almost, they've been warming up pretty good. They've been in there a few minutes. That's all it takes. Same temperature, about 200. One thing I might add, the thicker pieces, you do not want to heat them up real hot and then immediately cast. You will get shrinkage and you will get cracks in the Alumilite resin. You don't believe me? Try it yourself. That's what's going to happen. Just to give you a quick overview of my pressure pot, I'm kind of limited with my camera here, so I'm going to pick up the whole stand and everything. Just my casting case out of the way. So I have a pressure pot on a cart with all my casting supplies. Right, and there it is. That's a 5-gallon pressure pot. It's been all outfitted for casting. Now in the pressure pot, I have this little piece. This is what I call a baffle plate. When you put air into the pressure pot, it's the equivalent of blowing into the top of a coffee cup. The result is that. Many, many moons ago that happened. Anyway, in the bottom I have a pizza plate, but I have a piece of wood, and that piece of wood has been leveled. Fairly close. You don't want your stuff sitting on an angle. So there's my aluminum pie plate. That's in case I have any spillage while I'm trying to pour or whatever. Just these things you learn as you go. And basically, I'll put my molds in. They'll sit in here. I'll do my mixing, which we're going to see in a few minutes. I come over, I'll pour into the mold. And once I'm poured, I'll put the baffle plate on the top. And once the baffle plate goes on, then the lid to the pressure pot goes on. And once the lid goes on, it'll be secured. And then I will put air in and I will check my air pressure. And I'm going to run about 80 psi today. So we'll put the pieces, molds into the pressure pot. Gonna double check my level. I'll take it. And I'll show you before I close it up. I'm going to try and figure out how to get the camera over here before I actually mix, so you can actually see what I'm doing. It's nice to talk about it, it's even nicer to see it. While I'm on the subject, molds. This is a UHMW mold that I made. I actually turned this mold on the lathe. I turned it by hand, and it's for doing round, flat objects. I cast my own turkey calls, so that's kind of nice. I have lots of other mold designs, all homemade. Alright, red and gold, 500 grams. That's what we're going to do. Oh, one other item. This is a must. Everyone should have one of these if you're going to cast. It's a casting logbook. And basically this book here this book contains all my recipes, right? I go through, I record all kinds of stuff. I record the resin, the pigment, how many drops, how many scoops. Remember, my scoop is going to be different than your scoop. Temperature, I've got a thermometer and a hydrometer on the wall. Time, I'm letting my cast sit in the pressure pot for 2 hours. They say 90 minutes, I go 2 hours. And then it's 48 hours after I demold it out of the pressure pot. Or after it comes out of the pressure pot. I won't even take it out of these molds for 48 hours. I won't even, now these are disposable, I just cut them away. Nice and quick. The nice thing about these molds is they let me hold the pieces in. If I'm trying to glue things down or hold things or whatever, it's a waste of time as far as I'm concerned for what I do. I do too much unique casting. Anyway, that's a casting logbook, very important. If you ever want to repeat something, you can repeat it because you have a recipe for it. So we're set up in grams. We have our air hose here. We have our resin here. We have our molds in the pressure pot. We have our gloves. We have our dye. We have our pigment. We have our scoop. We have our paddle for mixing. Scale, cup. That's pretty much all we need. With one exception, paper towels. big necessity. I clean my mixing paddle as soon as I am done mixing. When I mix the A and the B resins together first. I do not add any pigment or any dye. They'll tell you differently. The dye is the dye is what they say the A side. It's the same as the A side. Does the quantity matter in grams? No, it doesn't matter. Wouldn't even worry about it. Unless you're doing a huge cast, it might come into play, but even then, you're talking a ratio. You got to be putting a lot of resin in, and a big cast is hard to do with a lot of resin. I've done a few. I think 1,500 grams was my biggest cast. It might have been more. I'd have to look in my book to be absolutely sure, but I think it was around 1,500 grams. Alright, paper towels, everything's ready. Paddle. Make sure you have a good battery. Lots of juice. And I alter the speed of that when I'm mixing as well. I'm not totally nuts when I mix it all up, but I can be aggressive. So red and gold. I also have this one, and you'll notice this one is split with a divider, just in case I need a place to put extra casting or extra resin. Worst case scenario, if I'm running short of room, I never waste my resin. What I will do is I will take the silicone mauve mold and I will use it as a backup for my casting, which means if I have leftover, it goes into this mold. And I don't know if you saw those other pieces, probably not. That's a full cast. This was where I didn't have enough resin to do a full pen blank, so it ends up being shorter. Doesn't matter, I have lots of uses for this other stuff. That can go into a pen by itself. This can be cut up and recast as solid chunks in another cast. There's a multitude of things that you can do. These are just some other pieces that I've got leftovers. Sometimes I'll do discs, because you can use these discs for other things. You're never truly wasting it. I save most of my offcuts. These ones haven't made it to the bin yet, but these are all offcuts that are going to end up being reused. I recycle lots, right? These are cut off the top of the mold. The example would be for cutting off the top of the mold. These would be, once they're trimmed, once the blanks are trimmed down to size, these are cut off the top of the caps. So you can see part of the cap in the cast there, right? So there is some waste, right? And I don't mind these thicker pieces. Like I say, I have a use for them. Alright, enough talk, let's cast. A-side resin. 250 grams. Well, by the way, leave your cup on when you start your scale. That way it automatically zeros. I also know that my cup weighs 14 grams. It's a little bit of handy information you might want to write down somewhere. So I'll go 250 grams of A. I don't know if you can see that or not if I zoom in. I always wipe out the cap of the jugs. And now we'll go to 500. And this is the B. A little few grams over, 508. I'm just going to hit it with a couple grams of this to get it close. $5.11. That's close enough. $5.12. So I want to remember that. $5.12. Write it down. Doesn't matter where you write it down, just write it down. $5.12. That goes in the recipe book. Okay, let's mix. You notice this isn't clear. And it's going clear quickly. Slow down, come up to the top. Rotate the cup around. Keep a paper towel there, it's going to drip a little bit. Alright, I'm going to go, I don't know, we'll do 30 drops. It's kind of awkward for you to see, isn't it? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, 26, 27, 29, 30. 30 drops. That's the other thing with these bottles. Be careful not to squeeze very hard. Remember to drill the hole in the top, or the top will pop right out. If you don't believe me, I'll show you. There. It's that easy. Comes right out. And yes, it's dye. It makes a mess. So we got 30 drops of dye. 30. Got the gold pigment. There's 1 scoop. 2 scoops. 3 scoops. Very gently put it in. Very gently start mixing it. If you mix it too fast, you'll have powder flying all over the place. Now, I mix the A and the B resin first. That way I know the A and the B is mixed. Now it's just a matter of mixing in the dye and the gold pigment, and this usually doesn't take very long. And it's pretty easy to judge when it's done. Wipe off the paper towel. Wipe off your finger. You don't have to do that, I just did it. Reverse. Don't go full speed, oh you'll be sorry. And your wife won't like your clothes when she does the laundry. There. Paddle's clean. Scoop's clean. Lids are on. My garbage, get rid of it. Okay, let's see if we can't get the camera set up over here. See what happens. So we're going to do the big one first. Oh, by the way, make sure your molds are sealed. Just above the top of the burls. And I have to double check. Red and gold are these two in the end. And red and gold should be the two on that end. So we'll do them. And those are done. 500 grams. Wow. We still got that much resin left over, right? The baffle plate. Just has to sit in there. You just don't want to blow air on top of the castings. Close my valves, hook up my air, check my gauge, it's set for 80, open my valve, and let it pressurize the tank. Of course, it's not going to focus for me. It's at 80 now. That's it. Now we just go set the timer, and it's 2 hours. 2 hours it comes out. 48 hours later, we'll cut them apart and clean them up, and they're ready to be set aside and start the next cast. Hope that sort of answers some of the questions people have had. Sorry I'm not the best videographer, but that's the basics. Thanks for watching.